Welcome to this video about acceptance. So sometimes when we're feeling really negative, we can get caught up with the negative feeling. We might think about ways of trying to fight feeling negative, but really, we could just accept where we are. As humans, we have a huge spectrum of emotions, and it's really difficult to be happy all the time or sad all the time. And what we can do to meet those emotions is to accept them, not try to change them, but to be with it. And we'll try that through some of the movements we'll do in the practice today. So what I'll invite you to do to start off is stand really comfortably. That might mean feet together or a little bit away from each other. And let yourself stand tall for a moment. And what would it be like to imagine the words? You might say them to yourself silently. I am enough. I am enough. Let's invite in a little bit of movement. So what would it be like to start just making some movements with your head? There is no right way of doing this. Well, there's no wrong way of doing this. So what would feel good for your body? Maybe you'd prefer to just move your eyes around the space. Take a little glimpse into the corners. And then in time, let your head come back towards the middle. We'll start to move through a sun salutation. So maybe you bring your feet a little bit closer together. You can let your palms face forwards. And just to start us off, let's take up a bit of space. So reach the arms wide and up. And then turn the palms and let your hands drop down. And we'll do just that a few times, lifting the arms up. Maybe you look up, bringing the arms down. Maybe you bend the knees. And whether you create this movement in a way that feels really spacious or a little bit closer together, okay, maybe those words come in, I am enough. Whatever you're doing, however you're doing it. We'll move through the sequence a little bit. So next time your arms reach up, keep them lifted. And then let's hinge the body forwards. You can bend your knees if you'd like to. Come to fold all the way down. You might let the head drop. Let the body hang. And then slide the hands up the legs, maybe as high up as the knees or the upper legs. And then let the body fold down. Maybe you bend the knees again. We'll take a big reach up of the arms, taking in space if you've got the space. This time at the top, let your palms touch and take a little yawn or a lean over to one side. And then into the middle, over to the other side, back into the middle. And then we'll let the hands slowly drop down. All right, let's add in some more movement. What I'd like you to do is step your left foot backwards. You can stay as you are. I'm just going to turn to the side. So left foot is backwards. And let's just make this quite imperfect. What happens if you just lift one foot and lift the other foot? There's no wrong way of doing it. And then let that land, let that feel steady. And maybe you feel content with where the feet are landed. Maybe you want to move them a little bit. And then take a bend in your right knee and let your arms lift at the same time. A little bit of coordination. And then straighten your front knee and let the arms drop down. And we can do that a few times, lifting and lowering. Something you might like to do is add in the breath. Maybe as you breathe in, the arms lift. And maybe when you breathe out, the arms lower. But if that's not what you want to do, you can accept it. And then let's try out pausing in the shape. So let's keep the arms lifted. What feels good here? Maybe your arms open a little. Maybe there's a bend in the elbows. And then can we pause? Can we be content in the shape that we're in? Accepting any wobbles. Again, we'll let it go. So let the hands drop down, maybe a little shake of the shoulders. And this time, just for fun, take a little bend in your front knee and then just lift your back foot away from the ground just for a moment. We'll try that a few times, almost like a little leap of faith, a little hop and a lower down. And then something you might do is find yourself in a balance. So maybe when you lift your leg up, you stay there for a moment. Your leg can be lifted a little, it might be lifted a lot. If you've got a bed or a chair, you might even bring your hands to hold on to it. So what feels good here? And again, we'll let it go. We'll let the left foot come to step forwards and be steady on your 2 feet. I'm going to turn to face you again. So we'll stay with a bit of awareness in the right leg. And then what's it like if you lift your left heel and then bring the left foot somewhere on your right leg? Might be quite steadying to keep your toes on the ground, but you might like the option of bringing the foot a little bit higher on the leg. It might be steadying to have your hands on the body, but you might like the option of bringing your hands together in some way, or even out to the sides. And I can definitely feel myself with lots of tiny little wobbles from the leg that's standing. What is it like to accept any of those wobbles? We'll spend a little longer here. If you've come out of it, don't worry, you can always pop back in, or you can stand on your 2 feet. And then we'll let it go. Come back to standing. Sometimes it's nice just to shake in the feet or the heels here a little bit to come back to a place in the middle. So naturally we'll find the other side, but before then, let's find a few more of these shapes with the arms, that lifting, maybe the eyes look up, and lowering, maybe the knees bend. And this time something you might like to add is the breath. Maybe when you breathe in, the arms lift, and maybe when you breathe out, the arms drop down. Just something to try. But can we be accepting if the breath and the movement don't come together? It really doesn't matter. Okay, this time as you reach the arms up, let them stay lifted. And then gently let them go. Second side. So this time it will be a step backwards with the right foot. So again, I'm going to take a little turn over towards the side. And again, deliberately make it a little bit imperfect. So just that stepping your feet, lifting them up and down. Maybe your body naturally kind of wobbles. And then let it land. Does it feel steady? Is that a place that feels where you feel content? Or do you want to move it a little bit? I'm going to move my foot forwards. It feels a bit steadier. And then again, can we bend into the front knee, into the left knee, and let the arms lift? And then can we straighten and let the arms lower? And as ever, it's your choice. You might find that you do this quite slowly. You might find that you do it in line with the breath. Maybe when you breathe in, it's when the arms lift, and when you breathe out, it's when the arms lower. Just accept whatever way you choose to explore this movement. And then we'll pause. So as your front knee bends, let's take a moment here. Well, we'll take a few moments here. And you can choose. Maybe the arms are wider open. Maybe there's a bend in the elbows. And sometimes holding shapes for a little bit longer, we notice maybe a little bit of a wobble or different sensations. Just being with it. And then letting it go. So let's try a little bit of movement in the balance. So we can bend into the front knee and lift the back leg. And maybe we play with that a few times. Maybe you find yourself getting off balance. It doesn't matter. And you might find that you'd like to pause in the shape for a moment. So maybe you keep the foot hovering behind you. Maybe your arms reach out in front of you. You've always got that option of holding onto a wall or bed, whatever you have beside you. Another moment here. And then letting it go, we can let the feet drop back beside each other. Notice what it's like to have your 2 feet steady on the ground. And then again for a little bit of balance. So we could lift the right heel. And you might keep your toes firmly on the ground as you bring the foot onto the leg. Maybe it lifts a little bit higher. And then choosing what you'd like to do with your hands. It might be different to what you did on the last side. And sometimes this shape is called tree pose. So maybe you have the sense of the roots of your feet, the branches of your arms and the trunk in the middle. You might also notice some wobbles, and they're fine. Let's let it go. We can drop the foot down, let the hands drop down. Maybe just walk out the feet a little bit if that feels good. Let's take a few more of these circles with the arms, and then we'll come a little bit closer towards the ground. So finding that lift of the arms, maybe a lift of the eyes, the head. And then dropping down of the hands, maybe that bend in the knees. A few more times. You might recruit the breath to come with you as well. And taking one last lift wherever you are. Before slowly just dropping the hands beside you. A little notice how it is in your body, how it feels. Maybe feet on the ground, palms of the hands. And then we'll come to meet a little bit closer towards the ground. So I'm going to come to meet you seated. So I'm sitting in a cross-legged position, but you can sit in any seat that feels comfortable. You might pop a cushion or a book even underneath your hips if you'd like to. And let's come to bring the hands just beside the body. It might be on the knees or on the ground, and find just a little bit of a longer spine, as if you've grown a tiny little bit taller. And then come to bring your left hand on top of your right hand. So you start to create a little bit of a twist with the body. You might stay exactly here, or you might like to bring your right hand behind you so it can just gently rest on the ground. And the eyes might take a little glance over the shoulder. And we'll spend a few breaths in this twist. And knowing there's no place we need to get to. Again, maybe those words, I am enough. Exactly here, exactly as I am. Last couple of moments here. And then let's come to bring the body all the way back into the middle. You might like a little bit of a twist to the other side. You might want to change the position you're in. I'm just going to recross my legs. And then we'll prepare for the other side. So finding maybe a little bit of length in the spine and bringing your right hand onto your left. Again, you can stay exactly here if you'd like to in this twist, or you might bring the left hand a little bit behind the body. And that hand really wants to support you. It's like a cheerleader saying, I am enough. So you might find a little bit of lift from that hand. And how is it to hold here? And knowing there's nowhere you need to get to, there's no way you could twist and turn all the way around in a circle. Where you are is perfect. And again, we'll let it go. We'll slowly untwist. Maybe there's a little bit of an urge just to turn to the other side. And then coming back to the middle. So the last shape we'll find before coming into a little bit of rest is a forward fold. I want to give you a couple of options. So something you might do is to bring the soles of your feet together. Feet might be close to the body or far away from it. What feels comfortable? Another thing you might do is bring your knees closer together and maybe sort of straighten-ish the legs. So I'm going to go with the option of having my legs long. And it's just a little bit of a hinge almost from the upper body. Allow yourself to fold forward. Maybe you let the head drop, let the spine round, and let everything sort of curl in. And we'll spend a little bit of time and space here. Noticing if you feel content where you are, or noticing if maybe you'd like to move a little bit. Maybe you bring a pillow underneath your knees. Maybe the position of your arms move. And then slowly, gently starting to guide the body back up. You can let your legs be long if they're in another position. And then if you come to find a lying down position, I'm going to stay seated. So if you can come to find a comfortable lying down position, I'm going to stay in a seated position so I can guide you through the last bit of the practice. So lying down could mean side lying, it could mean lying on the back, on the front, with your soles of the feet on the ground. And I've given you plenty of options because I really want it to be a position you feel really comfortable, where you feel you can accept the body where it is for the last few moments of the practice. Okay, so giving you a moment to get really comfortable. And then allow your body to soften a little bit. To really accept the shape you're in. And you could silently say to yourself, I am enough. Meeting yourself where you're at. I am enough. And so if your mind wanders or if it gets distracted, you can come back to those words, I am enough. There's no need to worry about the future or anything happening in the past. I am enough, here and now. I am enough. So you're welcome to stay here lying down for a little longer. You might like to use that practice in everyday life if you want to get your mind back into the present, back into a place of acceptance. You might start to move out of your lying down shape, maybe a stretch, a roll, a wriggle, something that will bring you back up into a comfortable shape. Take your time. So this idea of acceptance, contentment, comes from an idea in yogic philosophy called santosha. But really this idea of acceptance and contentment can be part of our everyday lives. And I have a poem I'd like to share, which just kind of reminds us of the fact that we are miracles in our own existence. It's by an astrologer, and her name's Rebecca Elson. We are survivors of immeasurable events, flung upon some reach of land, small wet miracles without instructions, only the imperative of change. And then we can bring this practice to a close. Maybe you bring your hands on your body somewhere, take a little nod or bow of the head in honour of yourself. Thank you.